Guys, I'm sorry I'm not there today. I've had a migraine since yesterday. Today we're going to start chapter 6, being able to name quadrilaterals, and then also know the properties of parallelograms. Parallelogram is quadrilateral with both sides of opposite sides being parallel. And then opposite sides are also going to be congruent. That's another thing that we can see. So those parallel lines opposite, also congruent. Rhombus, quadrilateral with 4 equal sides. Also, opposite sides will be parallel. A rhombus is a special type of parallelogram. But all 4 sides are congruent. You might think, doesn't that seem like it would be a square? Well, a square also needs 4 right angles, and we'll get to that. A rectangle is a quadrilateral with 4 right angles. What happens is that the opposite sides are going to be congruent, and so we have opposites here, opposite there. Also, opposite sides are parallel. A square is quadrilateral with 4 equal sides and 4 right angles, and opposite sides are going to be parallel and congruent. A kite is quadrilateral with 4 pairs of adjacent sides that are congruent, and 2 pairs of adjacent sides that are congruent, and no opposite sides are congruent. So the adjacent sides, like these two right next to each other, will be congruent, and then these two will be congruent, but they will not be congruent opposite sides. So we would never have this side and its opposite being congruent. Trapezoid is quadrilateral with only 1 pair of parallel sides. So only the top and the bottom will be parallel. The sides will not be. Isosceles trapezoid is a special type of trapezoid where it has the top and the bottom that are parallel, and then the 2 sides that are not parallel are going to be congruent. This is a little flow chart showing you the hierarchy of these types of quadrilaterals. So all of these shapes are quadrilaterals. Trapezoids are off on their own because they have just 2 pairs of parallel sides, and then more specific would be isosceles trapezoid. A kite doesn't have any parallel sides, just 2 pairs of congruent sides, and then parallelogram encompasses all of these. A square has all of the requirements of a rhombus and a rectangle all together, so you could say that a square is a rhombus, which is a parallelogram, which is a quadrilateral. A rectangle is not a square, not always. Rectangle, if it has opposite sides that are not, or if it has not all equal sides, then we will have a rectangle, which is a parallelogram, and it is also a quadrilateral, but is not a rhombus. If I ask you guys to do a question like this, give the most precise name for the quadrilateral LMNP. You find L, it would be at 1, 2. M would be at 3, 3. N is at 5, 2. P is at 3, 1. Connect the sides, connect the dots to make the sides. And what you see is that it has all equal sides. We know that it has 4 sides, so that would make it a quadrilateral. And then opposite sides are parallel. You can see that this side and this side have the same slope. Same thing with this side and this side. So it's also a parallelogram. And then it has all 4 sides being equal, which makes it a rhombus. More specifically would be rhombus. Use the definition of the shape to help solve for the missing variables. So what I see is that these 2 sides are going to be equal, and then these two sides are going to be equal also. So this must be a kite. And what I'm first going to solve for is either y or x. I can write two equations right now. I can write that 2y plus 5 equals x plus 6, setting these two sides equal to each other. And then I can also write 2x plus 4 equals 3x minus 5, setting these two sides equal to each other. And I look at this and I realize I can't solve for anything over here because I have two different variables. But on this equation, I can solve for x. So I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. I'm left with 4 on the left side, and then 1x minus 5 on the right side. Then I add 5 to both sides. I'm left with x on the right side and 9 on the right. Okay, so I have x equals 9. What I can do is plug 9 in for x on this equation. So I have 2y plus 5 equals, instead of x, I have 9 plus 6. I'll simplify. 9 plus 6 is 15. And I still have 2y plus 5 on the left. Then what I do, I want to get 2y by itself, so subtract 5 from both sides. I'm left with 10 on that side, 2y on the other. Divide by 2 on both sides, and I get y equals 5. Solve for the values of the variables and find the length of the sides. So this one takes it a step further. I have to solve for the values and then plug in those values to find the side length. But what I realize is that this is a rhombus, so all 4 sides are equal. Once I find A or B, I plug it into this side. If I solve it, it's going to be the same length every single side. So let us find A and B. I realize that all 4 sides are equal, so I'm going to pair the sides that have A's in them and then pair the sides that have B's in them. 5A plus 4 would be equal to 3A plus 8, and then do the sides with B's. 4B minus 2 is equal to 3B plus 2. Let me get the 3A's cancel out. I'm left with 2A plus 4 equals 8. Subtract 4 from both sides. I get 2A equals 4. Divide by 2, A equals 2. Over here, let me subtract 3B's from both sides. I'm left with 2 on the right side. Then I have 1B minus 2. Add 2 to both sides. B equals 4. To solve for the side length, I'll just plug into any one of these. Let's say I plug in my B into this side. So 3 times 4 plus 2 equals 14, which means all 4 sides are 14. If you need to slow down any point in this video, also stop it. Stopping this video will help you to write everything down. This is a repeat. Don't know why I put that on there. And that is the end of lesson 6.1. I'm going to make a different video for 6.2.